oh, there we go. Versus then how we go ahead and approach somebody who's in a totally different neighborhood. Let's say they're in East Hollywood. That's going to be a whole different demographic. And what if you're going to Kansas? That's going to be a completely different demographic. So as I put together these materials, understand that they're having to boil it down to the basic principles for everyone. So as we're going through some of this stuff, you'll see that I'm going to kind of clip and edit and add as we go through, because it fits more of what our office, what the needs are, and what will better suit you guys. That's the reason why we also have people locally, you know, the leaders in the office teach this, because they're giving you real world experience. That's why I think it's really incredible to have some of the people teach. And if you can attend or watch on recordings, even past ones we've done a few years ago, we've had a lot of great people come in and just share their experience. And that's something that is going to be local, that's going to be pertinent to what you're dealing with now. I went ahead and I introduced a few things. A little bit about me. I've been in real estate for a number of years. I've kind of had to reinvent myself a few times, because when I first got into real estate, I was at a terrible brokerage, and I have no problem admitting that. I thought I did all the research necessary to find a great brokerage, but you don't know what you don't know. So you don't know the questions to ask, the things to look for, and that kind of thing. Once I got in the brokerage for a while, I realized there was absolutely no training. There wasn't any of this you see. There wasn't people, there was no formal way of you being helped. And they really weren't designed for people new in the industry at all either. But I even noticed it from corporate. Even the big brokerage that they were under pretty much had the same approach, that they didn't really provide a lot of materials. They didn't provide a lot of help. They didn't provide a lot of support. It was almost, they just wanted to keep the agents they currently had and poach agents from other brokerages. So I kind of knew that wasn't going to be my gig. And so I went to search out other brokerages. And that's when I came to Keller Williams Larchmont. And I've been really happy ever since. So I look at that as like the first year of my career kind of was lost, because I was having to figure out all of those different things. And also they had a cookie cutter approach to real estate, where it was, you had to do this, 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 and these were the basic ways that you'll get through real estate all the time. And it didn't fit me. And so I thought, oh my gosh, I think I made a terrible mistake. I think this is the wrong career I chose. And I came home, I remember one day to my husband, and just cried. I was just like, I think I really blew it. And then I started, wait, let me find out other resources out there. And I found out, no, it wasn't as much me as what I was trying to be forced into a certain way of doing things that just didn't fit me, and it didn't fit my style, didn't fit my business. So that was something I had to learn. But also I came to the office, and I was in a major car accident, and I was T-boned, and I had a concussion that took me out for 8 months, where literally when it first started, my brain would shut off for about 8 to 10 hours out of the day. And the only thing I could do is pretty much sleep. And so a lot of my lead generation activities and so on was just gone. And what I basically did was I went ahead and I kept up great appearances, but I didn't have everything to do what I needed to do. So once I started coming out of that, it's almost like I had to rebuild my business. Nara, go ahead.
Me?
You have your hand raised, Nara.
Oh no, that was from earlier.
Oh, that was earlier. Sorry. Okay, great. Okay, so there's going to be core activities basically that you guys will do every day, and that's going to be adjusted. And that's one thing I even had to learn, because I was given like, well, with the first brokerage, what should I be doing every day? And they gave me a list of things to do. And it's like, okay, but that didn't work for me at all. Plus, because I'm a networking referral type agent, I go to events and I go to different things all the time. So I'm looking at the schedule they gave me, and I'm thinking, this doesn't fit in with me meeting the people I need to meet. So what I had to end up discovering is that I needed to adjust my schedule according to my business. So you're going to see that too. We're going to be talking about basic principles in there, but please, when you're doing your business, it's your business. So if you need to tweak things or do things that are going to fit you, that's what you need to do. So what a successful agent does every day is they do a number of things. First, they lead generate. And that's going to be, if you're just starting off, guess what? This is primarily what you're going to be doing. You lead generate for buyers and sellers. That's what you're going to be doing. And that's what we're going to focus on today. The other things, and by the way, I was told this when it came to the schedule, they gave me, oh, and then don't forget to make your seller listing presentations and get listings. And then you're going to have 2 hours of paperwork and negotiations. And then you're going to do this. And then I was like, yeah, but I don't have any deals in the pipeline. So they, even when they gave this to me, they were like, yeah, we know. And they didn't even recognize that, hey, I'm just starting off in my business and I need to tweak and adjust this. So we're going to look at the lead generation model. And here we go, sunshines. So the lead generation model, at the top, we look at prospecting and marketing. And there's 2 different parts to lead gen. And you're going to look at, and you're going to look at when you're generating your leads, there's 3 different phases of it. First, your lead generation. You're actually going out there and getting leads, people that are interested in real estate. That's all part of your lead generation. Now, you may already have people that you already have as a contact, and you're lead generating when you're reaching out to them. So I want to make that clear too. That's all part of your lead generation. Once you get to know them, or once you've talked to them about that, they're pretty much in what's called your database. And your database is everybody that you know that you've connected with in one way or another. And that could be, if you're just starting off, think of everybody who's in your smartphone. It could be all the contacts that are in there. But don't forget, it could be also all your Facebook contacts. It could be your LinkedIn contacts. It could be your Instagram contacts. It could be all of those contacts that are in there. That could be all part of your database. Now, some of you may end up getting into real estate and be like, whoa, I've got a lot of people in that database that I've got to clean up. I was in that situation. I actually, when I started real estate, I had 1,600 people in my database. And when I cleaned it up, I actually narrowed it down to around 1,100 people, somewhere in that range. And now it's grown a little bit back up, but I had to just kind of prune and prune and prune. And a lot of these people, you know, they were just not contacts. Now, that doesn't mean to say that I know some people who have a technique where they'll literally reach out to some of these people and say, hey, I have you in my phone. And by the way, this works very well. I don't remember how we've met. Can you please fill me in? This is kind of funny, huh? And people have done that. And it's happened where we have had a few agents in our office where they've done that. And the reply has actually been, I really don't remember how we met either. Oh my God. Well, this is what I'm doing, by the way. I'm a realtor, and that's the reason why I'm reaching out. What do you do? And then you can even have that conversation and start to interact with that person. Now they've become a contact that you have a relationship with, and you're beginning to build that relationship. Then what happens is that you're working your database, and then you end up bringing these people into your sales pipeline, where it ends up they're ready to either sell their home or they're ready to buy a home, and you bring them into that, and you're taking them through those stages. So the key thing is that when you're doing your prospecting and marketing, one of the things I really want you to take away from that is, as you're reaching out to people, as you're working with people, you want to be top of mind. You want to be the person that they think of when they think of real estate. So, for instance, just on Wednesday, I happen to be vice president of a shelter for victims of domestic abuse, and somebody in that, I'm just going to leave it at that because I want to respect everybody's privacy. But somebody who is amongst our board reached out to me. Now, technically, there's actually 2 realtors that are on the board, but I'm very active on the board, and it's just a passion of mine. And this person reached out to me, and they're in a very delicate situation where it's a family property that they're currently renting. And what they want to do is they want to go ahead and they want to purchase that property from another family member. So we talked about all that sort of thing and blah, blah, blah. Well, why am I bringing all this crap up? The reason why I'm bringing it up is I was front of mind. That's what you want. When people think of real estate, when people think of having to do anything like that, they want it to go ahead and they want you to be front of mind. So when it ends up that they want to refer somebody, they think of you. When it ends up like, oh, we're thinking about purchasing, they think of you. When we need to upgrade our home, they think of you. When we need to downsize our home, they think of you. When we need to relocate, guess what? They think of you. You want to be top of mind when it comes to any real estate need. So, and sometimes, by the way, that ends up as you're working your database and as you're lead generating, you even offer like, hey, if you ever need a contractor, if you ever need a plumber, if you ever blah, 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 you can be that person to go to. Now, at one point, you may be thinking, I'm just got in the business, I don't have those. Well, sunshine, we got you covered, because in the KW Largemont master folder, we actually have a PDF of contacts for a lot of these different things. And a lot of us in the office refer that to all the time. Plus, you can always reach out to somebody and just find out. Because, for instance, my hometown is Whittier. So I've had a few agents do deals in Whittier, but all of their vendors they tend to work with happen to be on the west side. So they're like, Rob, do you have anybody? Yeah, let me give you, some of those people, because I know the people out here. I know the people that can go ahead and help them because I've cultivated that. Now, that happens to be with a fellow realtor, of course, but I've had people in my database reach out to me and ask me the same exact question. So that's what you want. You want to be anything having to do with real estate. You want to be that resource. You want to be that person that when it comes to anything, they go to you. You are top of mind. Now, when it comes to deepening that relationship, there's a term that's used in our industry quite a bit. And it says, you want something that's value-based that'll deepen the relationship. This is where I think a lot of realtors miss the boat, okay? Because they think of something of value. Well, what's of value? Let's see, well, what's valuable to me as a realtor? Getting together probably a market analysis. I think that's valuable. Oh, what about a neighborhood analysis? I think that's valuable. Well, sunshine, that's valuable to you. It doesn't mean it's valuable to the person you're talking to. Let me give you an example. I bought a car 3 years ago. I bought a car and I love my car. Still love my car. And in fact, right now I have a little reindeer Rudolph on it. Well, I am not interested in another car. So when the dealerships are sending me information on another car, I'm like, click, click, click. I just keep deleting them because I don't care. It has nothing to do with what I'm interested in, what I'm valuing. So if they keep sending me that stuff, nah, I really don't care. If we do the same thing in real estate, your people do the same thing. And if all you do is browbeat people, and yes, I said browbeat because sometimes realtors can come off way too heavy on that. And then it ends up people just completely unsubscribe. Delete, please take me off your database, please remove me, blah, 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 all those different things. Let me give you an example of that. I have a dear friend from high school and she's very lovely, but about 4 years ago, she started selling shampoo through this company system, whatever. Everything you heard from her was about this shampoo. You got emails about the shampoo. All her social media posts were about this shampoo. And then sometimes she would even reach out to you directly about shampoo. Wasn't really on my mind at the time. So I started just unfollowing her and just deleting those emails and unsubscribing because it wasn't value to me at the time and it was too much. So what I'm saying is, what is of value to the people you're talking to? And then that's what kind of actually will let you know what you can provide. Now, yes, if you're a realtor, then when it does come to maybe a market analysis, when it does come to something like what we call it a CMA, and I have a whole opinion about using acronyms in our term and other things like that because, well, I'll just say it. When you say CMA to people, they don't know what that means. And so why say that? Why do something like that? We know what it means in our industry, but then you can say, well, what I can do is I can look up the data and let you know what your home might be worth on the market right now. I can look up the data and see what that home that you're thinking of buying would be worth. People understand that better. So relate to them where they're at. That was a gift somebody gave me a long time ago about the idea of using the term data because people relate to it easier. And then it doesn't come off like you're in a separate world from them. You're in the same world, In fact, you want to be in the same world because you want to bring them into your real estate world. But at the same time, you want to have those things available if needed. But what if, let's say, and you were going to go door knocking and somebody isn't thinking about selling their home? Okay, but what if you bring something by that's like a cute little, hey, here's the top 10 things that people are buying this year for the holidays. Here's a list of things to wait till after the holidays to buy. And you make a cute little card or whatever, and as you go door knocking, you pass that out. Well, that could be something of value to someone. Now, you're not going to just pass that out blank. Of course, you're going to have your contact info and all your real estate info on there and blah, blah, blah. But it allows you to have a conversation with them. It allows something of value to be given to them, and then you can interact in that way. We have an agent in our office, Marin, who he started a few years ago, and he's done very well. One of the things he's done is he's gone to the dog parks and he's handed out little bags of doggy treats, and he stapled his business card to them and just handed them out to everybody. Now, at a dog park, people are not wanting to say like, oh, by the way, I live on so-and-so street. Can you tell me how much my property is worth? They're walking their dog. No, they don't care about that. But you hand them a little dog treat, you hand them a little thing like that, that's something of value. And then they're going to interact with you more. And that's more of what you want. So understand, when we talk about you want to present things of value when you're talking to people, it may not always be real estate. And in fact, if the average person only moves every 9 to 10 years, because that's what the stats are, and you're talking them to year 5, you're not even close in the ballpark of when they're thinking of buying or selling. So now again, you never know, but understand that you want to be able to offer something of value than just real estate so you can keep in contact, because then when year number 9 or 10 rolls around, then you want to be in contact with them, because when they're ready to make a move, you are top of mind. Okay, so it took me off. There we go. Okay, we're going to talk about lead generation. Lead generation. There's 2 ways you can think of lead generation. One is prospecting and marketing. Prospecting is something that is proactive. Okay, so you have Damasio, and he calls up 5 people today. That is prospecting, because that is something very proactive that he's doing. Okay, it's something that he's doing to reach out to people to actually create that business. Marketing, on the other hand, would be, let's say Damasio has business cards made up and he just mails them out to people, but it tends to be that distant thing. That's marketing. If you're doing a newsletter and it's a mass newsletter that goes out to everybody on your database, that's marketing. If you buy, and don't do this, but if you were to buy a bus stop ad, and be part of the bench, that would be marketing, because it's more of a passive way that people remember you. It's more of a passive way that you're reaching out to them about real estate. That's the difference between prospecting and marketing. Now, prospecting tends to cost very little in money, but costs a lot in your time and energy and effort. In marketing, it's just the opposite. A lot of marketing, in fact, is just kind of like set it and forget it. But that can cost you a lot more in money. Now, a few things like your newsletters and so on, those are things that you can do in command. And because you're part of the Keller Williams system, you can automatically put that in. So yay. So that part of the marketing can be a little bit cheaper, obviously. And then there's a few other things you can do in marketing, but overall, those are the basic principles. But whether you're doing one or the other, daily, you want it to be lead generation. Part of your day should be lead generation in one way or another. Did you call people? Did you reach out to people? Have you started something? Are you working on your newsletter? Any of those sort of things are all those things that could be lead generation. But then you can see, even as I'm talking about that, every day may not be exactly the same. In fact, look at our office schedule. No day can ever be the same, because on Wednesdays at 11 a.m., we have our office meeting. Well, what if you want to go to the office meeting on Wednesdays, but on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday at 11 a.m., you're deciding that's when you're going to call 10 people during that hour. Well, on Wednesday, sunshine, you're not doing that because you're going to the office meeting. Again, you're going to adjust your schedule according to what it is. But daily, you want some way of lead generation to take place. Part of my lead generation, we're coming up to the holidays. I've done this thing, and I've talked about this ad nauseum, I know, in multiple meetings and that kind of thing. But I put together these little picture frames that are made out of balsa wood, and I have inked on the back my contact information and my name. But in the little frame is a picture of like their dog, the baby they just had that year, a family photo they had that year, any of those things. And when I mail out their holiday cards, I put it right in there. Well, that's a little bit of both, because it's a little bit of prospecting, because I'm making it personal. I'm making it something very direct to them, but it's also a little bit of marketing because I didn't call them, I didn't reach out to them, you know, and that sort of thing. However, the lead generation part of that is when I'm actually collecting that information and putting that together. So I would consider that my lead generation time. And those are the things that you do to create your leads, because you're reaching out to people, you're talking to them, you're making them aware that you're a realtor, what you're doing. Now, also, by the way, some of the marketing thing could also be, let's say you're going to open houses and you're taking photos and posting them on Instagram, or you're taking photos and then you're putting them in your newsletter. Here's a fabulous house, I saw this last week, and that's part of your newsletter. You could do any of those sort of things. You can utilize that in marketing, but then you could also even take that personally and send that to somebody that you know that may be interested in that area. Hey, by the way, Mario, I know that you're interested in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, and this is right off Olympic and it's in your price range. So I thought I would send this to you. That's a little bit more of active prospecting. But again, these are all the ways in which you stay top of mind when you're talking to people. You want your lead generation time to be purposeful. So there's Facebook, there's social media, there's all those different things. If you're, and I'm sorry, it's really dry out here. But if you're on social media and you're on Facebook and you want that to be lead generation time, best suggestion I can tell you to do is then put a time limit on it. For this next hour, everything I do on social media or the next 30 minutes is going to be lead generation. After that, if I want to see what's going on with Aunt Susie, I'll see what's going on with her. If I want to see what's going on with somebody else, I'll see what's going on with them. But then you make it active, make it something purposeful that you are intending to do your lead generation. That's going to be the part that is going to pay off a lot for you, because if you don't have any leads, then the rest of the pipeline here, the rest of it going into your database and eventually resulting in your sales is not going to happen. It all starts with leads. Okay, let me go. Okay, now I covered this right now a little bit. Marketing is money intensive. It's passive. It tends to have long-term results. You know, your results come later, where prospecting is time intensive. It's proactive, but you tend to have immediate results. So there's times that I've reached out to people and I've talked to them and I'm like, oh, you know, we just talked about whatever. And then they said, by the way, I'm really thinking about selling our home. We're thinking about moving out of state. When can we get together and talk about that? That's an immediate result. The long-term results are when I get the phone calls, and I've had this happen. I've literally had people call me up and say, Rob, we need to sell the house. Can you come over and bring over the contract? Yeah, that's fine. That's because some of the marketing and them knowing me for a long period of time and thinking of me front of mind, that's when that stuff takes place. But your lead generation is always going to be evolving. It's always going to be changing. So what do I mean by that? Okay. Again, for instance, I started off with a database of, and after I cleaned it up, around 1,000 people. That's a pretty big database. So am I daily wanting to add people to that database? Probably not. Mostly likely, and I don't mind adding people, by the way, but most likely I need to work the people I already have in that database and keep up with them and what's going on with them. I don't need to add, because my time is going to be spent doing that, and that's going to generate me what I need. But what if you're starting off and you have 40 people in your database? Well, then you do want to be adding people to your database. So the reason why I bring that up, well, if you start off with 40 and you add people to your database every month, and eventually you get up to like 800 or 900 people, you may want to start curtailing the people you add to your database and start intensifying reaching out to people already in your database. So those are some of the things that may change over time. Other things that may change over time. When I first got in this business, I was supporting at the time, we were boyfriends, but I was supporting the boyfriend. We have a house, I have 2 dogs, and I also support my mom. So the idea that I could jump in and spend all the money we have on marketing and everything I wanted to do, nope, really not so much. As time has gone on, I've been blessed. And there's now sometimes I can spend more money on things and be able to do that. So that's where some of my lead generation has changed. For instance, there's actually a company that does my email campaign every other week for me, and they put together this beautiful newsletter. And I actually have people email me back and say, oh my gosh, these were great articles. I don't even know what the articles were until I get a copy of it. But they do all the work for me. Well, I pay for that. You know, that's one of those things I pay for, and I think I pay $40 a month for it, but it keeps me top of mind. But when I first started off, I didn't want to spend that money because I didn't have that money to spend. That's where some of my lead generation has changed. Also, when you first get into the business, you may not even know exactly what you want to do. So I kind of had to piddle around and figure out, okay, do I like doing door knocking? Actually, I do. I really like door knocking. Even though they're strangers, I love door knocking. I love that one-on-one approach, and it works very well for me. And then I end up getting long-term contacts out of it. Do I like cold calling expireds? No, that's not my personality. Now, however, I have a very good buddy of mine that when I first started in the industry, he took me under his wing and he really mentored me a lot. He actually does that every day. He cold calls, and that's what he does. Now, if you were to ask him, I love going to, and this is one thing I discovered, I love networking. I love referring people. I love the whole referral. I love all of that part of real estate and getting to know people. He hates that stuff. He goes to an event like that, and after 15 minutes, he wants to leave. I can shut the place down, turn off the lights, and they have to kick me out. So that's one that you begin to discover, well, what works for me? What do I like to do? What doesn't work for me? What do I not like to do? All of those sort of things can change. I also got certified in 4 different things from NAR. I have 4 certifications from NAR. One of them stood out to me as being one that I really wanted to focus on, which I'm Senior Real Estate Specialist, SRES. So because of that, I started going to senior communities. I started creating those inroads. I started making those contacts, and those have resulted in sales, and those have resulted in long-term relationships that have really paid off. Yay. But when I first got into real estate, I didn't know I was going to do that. So that's one of those things that if you were to talk to me in 3 months into this versus 3 years, some of my lead generation has changed because some of the things I do, some of the things I've discovered, some of the things I've explored, some of the relationships I've made have also changed as well. Those are some of those things. And again, that's a little bit where I do a little bit of marketing, a little bit of proactive, where before COVID, and now I'm beginning to start it up again, but before COVID, I would go ahead and once a month, I would go to all the senior communities I was in touch with, and I'd bring them a box of cookies. And at first, I just brought a box of cookies with my business card stapled to it. And as many of you know, or you will know, I've got 2 dogs, and I use them in all my marketing. Now, when I do that, I will bring that box of cookies, but on top of it is a glued piece of paper with something, a little saying or something, a greeting from my dogs on top of it, and my information on there. Now everybody remembers me more. So that works out even better, and that's a better part of my marketing. Part of that has evolved. It also means that it costs me $12 to $13 per dozen cookies. So that's something when I first started in real estate, I wasn't doing as much. Now it's something I'm doing more. Again, your lead generation is going to change over time, but you want to be proactive in your lead generation and keep doing it. They have me cover other stuff, but guess what? I already jumped ahead of all that stuff. Now, when you're lead generating, you want the best of both worlds. So you want to do the prospecting, and that's more proactive, but you also want to do the marketing that tends to be a little bit passive, but the combination of the two will keep you front of mind, okay? I think think I have it. Oh, I have it later on. So we're going to go right to that. This is your database. Once you start working in Command, this is what your database basically will look like. But we're not going to focus on how to do everything in Command right now. I just want you to see it so you know what it looks like. Right now, it's being displayed on a MacBook Pro, even though they took off the name. But you don't have to be on a MacBook Pro. It works on all the platforms. It's web-based. What I do want to talk about is working with your leads and your contacts. Now, I've used those two terms, but let's really talk about what those things are. A lead is you have valid contact information and can have a one-way conversation, and you're seeking permission to talk to them more. What does that mean? Okay. So let's say you do Facebook ads. I'm just going to do, a very classic one. Let's say you do Facebook ads and you go ahead and you make or you get a lead from that. Okay. It's one way. They've only reached out and raised their hand and said, hey, I'm interested in that home that you've made a posting for, or I'm interested in buying a home, or whatever. Then when you go to contact them, when you reach out to them, that's when you're seeking a two-way conversation. And once that happens, they've now been converted from a lead to a contact. Now, don't think everything is going to be all sunshine and roses. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're doing Facebook ads, one is some of the leads that come in are going to be fake. So understand that. Secondly, even though you may have a two-way conversation with them, they may not be qualified. So that's another one. And at the same time, you may do a two-way conversation, but then they don't want to talk to you anymore because, by the way, they've filled out a number of these things, or they didn't realize what they filled out, or what have you. And so understand that when you work with leads like that, that may shimmer down a little bit. Now, a lead can also be, what if you have somebody call you up and say, hey, by the way, I have somebody that is interested. Do you mind if I give them your information, and then you can go ahead and contact them, or I'll give their information or your information to them? That's a lead, because now what you're doing is it's a one-way thing. You're trying to make that two-way contact, and then they're converted into a contact. One little tip on that, when you do get a call like that, it's very nice to think like, oh, and they probably mean it, they will give your contact information to that person, but we all have lives to lead and things come up. So a lot of times it's like, hey, I really appreciate that, but, and sorry, try to refrain from using the word, but, and I really want to make sure that they're serviced well. Would you mind giving me their contact information as well? And so if they don't contact me, I'll reach out to them because I want to make sure they're taken care of. That way you have a way of reaching out to them, because a lot of times when your information is put out there, again, people can be very well-meaning, but then they don't reach out to you. I've had that happen when I first got into real estate. I kept on passing out my business card and like, I hope somebody calls me. I hope somebody contacts me. And I realized the thing I should have done is then ask for their information as well. So then that way I could reach out to them, even if they didn't follow up with me. So I have a question for you guys. What do you think are some of the lead contact sources that you can think of? What do you think would be some sources of leads and some sources of contacts? Don't everybody speak up at once. I have my two dogs with me, but they're probably not going to say anything.
Hey, Rob, basically what I would do is, so I play golf, and anytime I make a group playing golf with people that I don't know, between one hole and another, we can pop any conversation where we can, plug, our career, whatever we do, either golf or real estate. And it's very easy to follow up with them, because along the way, after 18 holes, I've never done it yet, but I've seen that a lot with people that are engaged in golf and do great. And so I would say if I ever play golf, I just want to I'm not gonna say, hey, I'm a realtor, but I'm just gonna wait until this is the moment to, you know, spark and tell them that I can do whatever I do. I think that's, for me, that would be a very easy way, and party, family, and people that we get together socially.
Great. I think that's a great answer. I agree with you. I mean, it's golf is like a great venue because it's something you have in common. So I know some people that they're part of car clubs. And so being part of a car club is something that they have an interest in, and it's something they have in common, and they talk about things. And when you talk about, like, if you ask somebody about their career, they'll ask you about yours. That gives you a way in which you can talk about real estate and let them know what you're doing. And yeah, when you're looking at leads, you're looking at, something that are people that you don't have a contact with at the time. So it could be like your neighborhood farm. Like, let's say there's a particular neighborhood you're wanting to farm, and you're wanting to make that your area that you focus most on, or a geographic farm. For me, that would be the senior farm. All the seniors that I reach out to. So they're all dotted in the different in the city of Whittier and around the city, but also around our office. There's a few of the senior communities I keep in touch with around there too. So that would be part of my farm. Your social media people, your LinkedIn people, those are all part of leads. You've made contact with them, but you haven't, or you've connected with them, but you haven't gotten to that contact part. The contacts are people you have a sphere of influence, you've had an interaction with. Those could be like your family, your friends, former coworkers, if you went to school with people, if you were on a team with some people, any of those people. Exactly what you're saying, Damasio, to be the people you go golfing with. Those are all of those people that fall underneath that. So that's how this looks as they go into your database. Now, when you're looking at converting them, this is what it looks like. When you have a lead, you basically look, and this has been shown over and over again, so it's not like they just came up with these numbers. A lot of the Keller Williams stuff, by the way, isn't theory. What they do is they do a lot of research, and they come up with, hey, this is what we discovered, that people who are effective out there, this is what they're doing. So this is what to do. Basically, you're looking at, with a lead, you want to reach out to them 4 times quarterly with a phone call. You want to do like an email newsletter, market report, video, something like that, 12 times a year. That's once a month for people who can do math. If you want to do something directly to them, twice a year. By the way, we're in the holidays. This is one of those times that's really effective to do something directly. Like I just talked about those frames that I send people. And then you want to do one touch that's like some sort of get together. It can be an annual event. You can do a party. Now, when I'm saying party, some realtors who've been in the business for a while, they will actually do like some event somewhere. They will have an area of a park reserve. They will get food catered. They will have stuff done at like a hotel. They will do things at other venues. They will do just like a thank you get together sort of thing. It could be any of those sort of ideas. Some people do shredding events, and people can bring their papers to shred. I actually have an idea, and I don't know if I'm going to have time this year, but I'm thinking about doing a puppy portrait with Santa. And it's really easy to set up and do. It's just a matter of me getting everything done in time. That could be my one annual get together thing. When you have contacts, and once you have that connection with them, it takes about 36 steps to convert. Now, technically, it was for years 33, but people had a hard time doing the math with 12 divided into 33. So they're like, okay, why don't we bump it up to 36? And then people, makes it easy for them to understand that that goes 3 times. So that's what they're doing. Again, you're looking at telephone calls 4 times a year. You're looking at your touches. This time it's a little bit more, where you're having like a bi-weekly email. Now, it doesn't mean that on your leads and on your contacts, well, I was doing a newsletter, but I've got to create 2 newsletters. No, you can send the same newsletter that goes out bi-weekly to both. It's just saying this is the minimum to do to convert. So if you're doing more of a newsletter to people that are your leads, that's okay. But make sure your newsletter, by the way, is something that they actually want to read. I'll give you a little tip. When I get a lot of realtor newsletters and everything in there is about, oh, the market and this and this and this, they're only appealing to me as a realtor, and I already know that information, so I don't give a crap. So I delete it or I unsubscribe. If you're sending out that same newsletter to people, same idea. The rule of thumb when it comes to social media and when it comes to newsletters and that sort of thing is an 80-20 rule. You actually want 20% of it to be real estate, 80% of it to be something else, and usually at least something in there personal. So for me, when I do my newsletter, I actually started doing this because I'm very close to my mom and people know that. So my first photo I have in my newsletter is literally a picture of my mom. And I have some description of it. And sometimes it could be, hey, here's my mom last week. Here's my baby picture of my mom. I do all different photos of my mom. I just did one recently where I just got married. And so the photo I started off with was the mother and son dance of my mom. That was the very first photo. Then the second thing I usually have in there is something going on with real estate. It's a seller's market. How does a buyer survive in a seller's market? What is a projection of mortgage rates? All of that kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff that's my second section. Then I usually have a section in there on anything having to do with healthy lifestyle. It could be food, it could be exercise, it could be that sort of thing. I may have some things in there about growth. So it could be personal growth. It could be, you know, what to do about mindset. What are some things you can do to grow in a certain area? All of those sort of things. So I try and make my newsletter one of those things that when you're in it, yes, you do get a dose of real estate, but you also get other stuff that could be interesting. By the way, this time of year, I also put in sometimes recipes. Hey, here's, you know, a healthier recipe for pumpkin pie. You know, any of those sort of things I put in there. And Google pays off on how to get some of that information. But all of that stuff goes in there. I will say my database, when I started off, I had originally 997 people on my my newsletter email list. And I have only had, I think it's a total of like 30 some people unsubscribe, which is a really good number. It's a really good number to have that many people still subscribe to my newsletter. So that let me know that what I'm offering is something of value to people in that. When it comes to the get-togethers, about 2 touches, you know, I mentioned that, and something, you know, a little bit more direct email, that kind of thing. All of that is part of your contacts. The idea is that once you do those things, this will end up resulting in leads. Okay. Adding contacts. I told you I skip over a lot of stuff because I go to what I think is important. One thing I do before I finish with the database and move to this, I do want to say a couple things. You want to be adding contacts in your database, and as you put them in, don't forget that it could be personal contacts, it could be social media, it could be people you're involved with, but you may not have all their contact information. For instance, like I said, I'm on the board, so the shelter. So when somebody new comes onto the board, I get all of their contact information. Now they're in my database. I just automatically add them. That's part of what, you know, I just do. Now, a lot of times you're going to have missing information in your database, and this is why I wanted to focus in on this. So what if you want their information? Well, if you were to text someone and say, hey, I don't have your home address, can I have that? Why? Okay, that doesn't come across. Everybody like, why? What's up with that? You know, people naturally are a little suspicious, and I don't blame them because I get the same way. I'll have sometimes somebody call me up, and I mean, it's a telemarketer, and they're like, oh, by the way, can you tell me who's head of the household? Who is calling? I'm not just going to give my information. You know, I'm not going to automatically do that. So there's some hacks you can do to make it fun. And it also kind of lets people know, hey, you're not a telemarketer. Hey, you're not somebody that's going to bug them all the time. I do this all the time. I will do, and I've said this before at many meetings, I'll do just a quick little poem. Roses are red, violets are blue. Where am I sending a blank to? Fill that in. If you see on Instagram or Facebook, they're having an anniversary, they're having a birthday, any of those things, where am I sending a birthday card to? And by the way, then send them the birthday card. Don't say you're going to do something and not do it. Send them an anniversary card. Send them a note card. It could be for any reason. Send them a thank you card. Any of those things can work. I have done this because most of the people in my database, I had their email address and their phone number, but not always their home address. My batting average is in the high 80s. When I use that poem, I get their home address. And then I now know where they live. Not that I'm going to go slash their tires, but now I know where they live, and I can send them a birthday card, an anniversary card, my holiday card. What if I want to do that photo frame thing, but I don't have the address and I want to surprise them? Now I have the address that I can send that to. So that's a way you can do that. Well, what if you have their address and their phone number, but not their email address? Roses are red, violets are blue. Where am I sending a cute video of my dogs to? And then you can put, I need your email address. People respond to that, and then you can get that contact information and put it in your database. And let's say you didn't have their email address, they can't get your newsletter. Now that you get their email address, now you can give them they can get your newsletter. Those are the simple little hacks that will help you. I've discovered with me, making it fun and making it creative really pays off. Now, one big thing in that, I want you to have this takeaway. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's an old saying where 90% of creativity is stealing other people's ideas. I'm one of those people. I happen to know because way back in my 20s, I was a junior high leader for 5 years, and I was always having to create ideas. I discovered with me, I am highly creative once I have something to work with. If I don't have something to work with and I have to start from scratch, I am not that creative. Where I knew other people that were the opposite. They were the visionary people that they could just explode with an idea, but then they didn't know how to implement it. And that's where we teamed up really well, because they came up with this great idea. I'm like, oh, I love that. They're like, but I don't know what to do. Don't worry, I know how to do that. And then we would work together. So why am I saying all this? Steal the stuff I'm giving you. Steal other people's stuff. Don't think that you have to be this super creative person. Don't think that you have to know how to create all arts and crafts and that kind of stuff. I buy these little balsa wood things that are pre-made. I have a little rubber stamp that's inked and I stamp it on the back. That's all I do. I am not a crafty person that, makes my own photograph books at home. That's not me. Okay. I just know how to leverage other people's ideas or other people's things, and you can do the same. So I want you to understand that as you're working your database, as you're reaching out to people, it can be the same idea. Even I've done that even when I'm doing my prospecting. I'm lead generating with people, and I'll reach out to them all the time. And I did that the day after Thanksgiving. I did roses are red, violets are blue. I had a lot of turkey. How about you? Bingo, sort of thing. And then people would, could text me back, and then we have a little conversation going. I stay front of mind. That's what that's about. That's my lead generation that I'm doing. Any questions on that one? Because I feel like it's much, well, I know more than feel. Going through this, I am not at all impressed with myself, nor am I going to be underneath some guys like, oh, wow, you're going to remember everything I said. The average person retains 20% of any presentation that's given to them. That's why you have homework when you're in school, because you may see all that stuff and then you forget how to do it. When you have homework, you begin to internalize it. Same thing here. So when I'm going through this, that's the reason why I want you to just hit on the most important things. And if you don't remember something, fine. But if you can get 1 or 2 nuggets out of something, it's worth your time. And that goes for all these ignites. Everybody's business doesn't always explode overnight, but as you learn and as you grow and as you get nuggets here and there, that's where things really explode. Just a couple of weeks ago, we did a whole thing on heroes for the holidays, and we had just people sharing what they do that are really successful in real estate. And I took all of these notes. I couldn't tell you everything I did. I did type up the notes, so I can always refer to them, but I know like a few key things off those notes that's stuck in my brain and I'm going to do. One of them is I've learned that I need to bake cookies. Okay, so as we go to the cultivate part, this is what our sales pipeline ends up looking like. And in our sales pipeline, we want to, this is what it looks like. You've nurtured these people, you've qualified them. So the nurturing and the qualifying means that the nurturing is you've kept in touch with them, you're a friend of mine. The qualified is they raise their hand, hey, we're ready to sell the house. Well, then pretty much usually they're qualified at that point. We want to buy a house. Okay, great. Let's see how much a lender will go ahead and pre-qualify you for. Because once you get pre-qualified, we know how much you can afford. And oh, by the way, even if you can afford $1 million for a home, do you want to make that mortgage payment? How much do you have to put down? I've had a lot of people where they've been approved, and I'm thinking of somebody I sold a home with about 3 years ago. They were approved for $2 million, but they were buying an $800,000 home because they said, we don't want to spend that much money. We only want to spend this much money. So they find out what their range is. And that's part of the qualifying. And then you start from there. Whenever you're doing lead generation, one of the big things is you always want to set the appointment. And when it comes to your pipeline here, part of it is you're setting the appointment that's going into a transaction. Let's back up there a little bit. You always want to set the appointment, even if it's just getting together. So a perfect example, Damasio. He's been talking with his golfing buddies and he wants to get to know somebody a little bit better. So they're on the golf course and of course, Damasio is shooting way below par. At least I think that's what I'm supposed to say. So he's doing really well. And then he talks to another guy and says, hey, Brian, this has been, really pretty cool. Would you mind getting coffee one morning together? I'll buy. That's setting the appointment. Now, many times, like my old office, when they talked about setting the appointment, it was strictly, do you want to buy or sell real estate? Okay, again, it's like somebody asking me, my friend from high school, getting together for coffee and, do you want to buy or sell shampoo? No, I don't. Okay, same thing. You just want to have a conversation with them, but you always want to go for setting the appointment. Sometimes the appointment can simply be also following up. Hey, do you mind if I give you a call next week and follow up with that? That could be setting the appointment. There's times that I've gone ahead and I've sent like CMA, but as we know, I would say to somebody, hey, I sent you the data on the home. Go ahead and look it over. And I'm going to give you a call in 2 days on that. That's setting the appointment. It can be just that simple, just following up with that. Setting the appointment can be, oh, by the way, I'm getting together with some friends for lunch. Do you want to join us? That's setting the appointment. Monday night, there's a group of us that were good friends. And by the way, 2 of those really good friends have referred me a lot of business. And we try and get together at least once a month for dinner. So Monday night was like, hey, what is everybody doing? Does that still look good for everybody? Yeah, let's get together for dinner. That's setting the appointment. And the entire time we're talking, we're just talking about our lives. Well, because I'm a realtor, at times it gets dabbled in there. But I'm not making it a point like, oh, I'm going to order the salad. By the way, do you know anybody who wants to buy or sell real estate? It's just part of the regular conversation. You're talking to people. So talk to them like people, okay? That's what you want to do. In this situation, when you're to the point where they're actually raising their hand and saying, hey, we want to look at buyer selling, then that's when they become an appointment. And the appointment is about real estate. But don't think the entire appointment needs to be about real estate. In fact, people are, again, people. So if you go to their home and they have, let's say they have 2 absolutely adorable dogs like I do, obviously you want to compliment me on my dogs because you're going to be a big fan. So that's one of those things you can do. You can have a conversation about that, and so on. Make sure you stay to the topic of what you're there for, but your appointment can be revolving around that. Once you have an appointment, you consider them active. There's somebody who is actively part of your business because they're buying or selling. They're actually doing something. And then after they're active, at one point, contracts will be signed and then they're under contract. And then at that point, that's when you're in the transaction, and then you go to close. That's when, the done deal has been done. They bought a home, you've closed. They've sold their home, you've closed. You still keep in contact with them. If you notice, if you look at this, you'll see the arrow on 8 goes all the way back up to the top where they're part of your database. They're part of your lead generation. You still stay in contact with them. In fact, anybody you've done business with, they're the best people that you can reach out to them again and do business with them again. I've had a number of clients. I have, in fact, somebody who I actively lead generated and called yesterday. His name is Rich. He now lives in Palm Springs. I have helped him buy and sell 4 times. And that's because I've kept in touch with him. Rich and I are friends, but he's part of my database. And in fact, it even came up when I was driving. I clicked on my CRM system and it said, hey, now's the time to call Rich. Okay, that means I haven't called him in a while. So I clicked on the button, I called him. We talked on the phone. Hey, when you guys are out in Palm Springs, I want to get together with you. Okay, great. Yeah, I'm still keeping in touch with this. By the way, Rich knows a lot of people and he may refer me business, but we're also friends. But having him in my database allows me to keep that relationship going instead of long lost friend and I haven't kept in touch with them. That's one thing that's great. You may have, one of the biggest benefits I've seen of a CRM is you may have a great database of people. You may know a lot of people, but then it ends up, you don't call them, you don't contact them, you don't send them a note card, you don't do those things. And that's the kind of stuff that can end up letting that relationship go somewhere else. And what I noticed is, and this was one of my big ahas, when I started working my database, I liked most of these people I had in my database. I really did. I was like, oh yeah, I like this person, and so on. I wasn't doing a good job keeping in touch with them. But then when I got into real estate and I started having all my contacts in my database and I started working that database, I started keeping in touch with all these people and I really enjoyed it. I was like, I like these people. That's why they're in my database. That's why I'm keeping in touch with them. And it allowed me to be better at being their friend because I just had a reminder. Hey, call this person. Hey, contact this person. Hey, contact that person. And it allowed me to do that. Example number 2. The last time I had talked to this one, the executive director and the sales director of a senior community in Westwood was an Easter. And how do I know that? My CRM told me, hey, you have not reached out to Sandra or Nadia in this amount of time. And literally they were in my data, when it came up, they were both right on top of each other. Right then and there, I texted both people and I got a hold of both of them. Rob, I'm so glad you contacted us. We actually wondered if you could come and do a whole real estate presentation, maybe sometime in February. And would that be something you'd be interested in? I immediately texted back, Nadia, I got your back. I would love to do something like that. Any way I can support you, please let me know. My CRM, having them in my database, working my database, lead generation daily, allowed me to keep that contact going. And by the way, Nadia is adorable. I do adore her. And so it's even keeping that relationship going with her, which ends up keeping my business going. Okay, we're a few minutes over 1 o'clock. So does anybody have any ahas? Any thinking changed? Anything you're feeling differently? Anything you're going to do differently? Talk to me.
Rob, I just had like a question. I was thinking, like, I'm sure it's different for different people, but in terms of when you're reaching out to your contacts, do you typically start a conversation and then organically put in there after you're talking to them, if you're looking to, sell or buy real estate or anyone, or do you just initially kind of send them a message where the beginning is about something more personal and then at the end just because I'm wondering, like, do people respond differently of thinking like, oh, well, I wish I had known this was about real estate, if that makes sense. Like, how do you kind of approach that?
Okay, that's an excellent question. I think it's all in the packaging. So you just bring it up as an, oh, by the way, so and you're going to hear this from me tons and tons of times. Ford, ask them questions about family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. When you ask people about those different topics, invariably, somehow your family, occupation, recreation, or dreams is going to come up as well, because most of the time people ask you back. And especially if you hit occupation, super easy for you to hit. And you don't make it, you be yourself. I think one of the biggest mistakes that people do is they're not themselves. Be yourself. So be proactive in your conversation, but just be yourself. So go ahead and, Andrew, you're calling me up. Hey, Rob, blah, blah, blah. I was calling you up to see if you wanted to get together for coffee. I know the holidays are coming up and things are really crazy busy, but if you want to get to coffee for next week before it gets crazy busy, that would be great. Do you have any times available? Yeah, in the morning would be great. Okay, cool. Yeah, I was wondering, by the way, how is your work going? I don't want to impede on your work. Is that going okay? Is coffee in the morning okay, or is in the afternoon better? Well, morning's fine because I can get stuff done when I need to get done. Oh, okay, cool. Great. And is this going to be okay for your work? Yeah, it'll be okay. Yeah, in fact, I'm a realtor now. So I'm reaching out to people and I get to set my own schedule, which is one of the great things that I love. So yeah, that's not a problem. So how's next Monday at 9 a.m.? Great. That's one of the, obviously I'm, making that on the fly in my mind and I'm narrating it the way you want it to go. But you can see though, basically the principles I want to put out there is the packaging it's just natural. It's just natural. You bring it up. Now, if it's somebody that you've known for a while, then yeah, then you're more comfortable saying, hey, I'd love to get together with you. And let's say you already made the appointment, then don't bring anything up until you're actually at having coffee, and then as you're having coffee, let's say you have a 20-minute conversation with this person. And during that conversation, you talk about, or you even say, yeah, it's kind of, the cool thing is I can even write this coffee off because now I'm a realtor and I'm doing real estate. So, hey, but do me a favor. I want to write this off, but I want to make some more money doing it. If you know anybody who's looking at buying or selling, or even if you, go ahead and please think of me first. Okay, and then I'll even buy you another coffee. Okay, you can move right on, but if you notice, it's just a conversation, it's just comfortable. Which when you do that standard package, like it's almost robotic, like, hey, this has been great, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, do you know anybody who wants to buy or sell real estate? Okay, you just totally changed being a human into being a script. So you don't want to do that. You just want to be yourself, but ask the same sort of thing. But it's a great question because the first office I was at, when we even did script practice, that's the reason why I've changed it to planned conversations, because there really is more what it is. They really did do script practice where it was memorized. And if you got one word wrong, you were wrong. And then it came off like a robotic telemarketer. And of course you turned everybody off. People don't want that. People are not stupid. And so you just want to relate to them. It's just bringing it up in the conversation, but it doesn't hurt to ask. And if you even ask in a fun way, then that makes it better. You could even bring up, I've joked around like that too. Hey, if you give me a referral, even, I'll buy you a $50 Starbucks card. When that closes, you can joke around like that. People are like, okay, I'll take you up on that, sort of thing. Well, your commission's going to be 18 grand. So pay the $50 and buy them the stupid card.
Yeah, definitely. That makes sense. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Any ahas?
I thought it was helpful to actually see the breakdown, like the 36 to connect, or to actually just see it all. Cause it's very easy to get overwhelmed, and like kind of see like where to go next. So I thought that was really helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Chelsea. I agree. It's one of those when you see that, it's also not overwhelming. It's like, oh, I could do that. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I could do that. It's just when, yeah, you see it jumbled together, it kind of gets a little bit much. One thing I do want to point out, this is one thing we talk about all the time. Every day, try to add contacts, try to have conversations, handwritten notes. And to me, this is a huge golden nugget. People remember anything you handwrite to them. So if you can handwrite 5-10 notes a week, you've touched somebody in a way that nobody else, I guarantee you, has touched them that week, and they'll remember that. When I was in high school, which was 1984, there was about 85% of all your mail was junk mail. Now it's like high 90s is actually all of the mail. So when somebody gets something personal in the mail, it means so much to them. So writing a note to somebody really can make a big difference. Having a conversation can make a big difference. Those are the things that I think are essential. Now, again, I mentioned that once your database has grown, you may not want to add as many contacts. You just want to go ahead and you want to work the contacts you currently have. But don't be afraid to add them. I mentioned that I reached out to senior communities. I also reached out to another senior community yesterday, and the executive director is there, but the sales director has now had a turnover. So immediately when they said, oh, Carly's no longer here, I said, oh, they go, well, Tina now is the new person. Well, if Tina's available, may I speak with her? So she got on the phone. Hi, this is Tina. May I help you? And I joked around the whole time. I kept it serious, but I said, hi, Tina. My name's Rob. I was actually calling for Carly, but I've heard now you're the better replacement. So I was wanting to reach out to you. I'm actually a local realtor, and I work a lot with the senior communities. And that's the reason why I was reaching out, because I've known Allison, which I'm assuming Allison is still there, but I've known Allison forever, and I've been associated with Belmont forever. And she goes, oh no, Allison is still here. She's just at a meeting right now. Oh, no problem. But yeah, any way I can be a resource to you guys, please let me know. I would love to even stop by, and I'll even bring you bagels or cookies or something, if that sounds good to you. Sure, Rob. Hey, by the way, can you send me your email address? And that way you and I can keep in touch better. Yeah, that'd be great. So guess what? She is a contact I've added, but it's because that she's part of my sphere. She's part of my demographic that I'm going after. So yes, I have no problem adding contacts, but because I have a database of a certain size, I'm working my contacts more than I'm adding. If you're the opposite, where you have a smaller database, you're going to be doing the opposite, because it takes you no time to work through the contacts you currently have. So you want to add contacts into it.
Got a question, Rob.
Sure.
How would you set aside any transaction of a client that has previously experienced with different agent, and you are handling the first transaction?
So let me clarify. Are you asking when you're talking to somebody, they've already worked with another agent before?
Yeah, they probably, bought or sold any property, and they reach out to you, and they know that you kind of knew, and it's going to be your first transaction. How do you leverage that out? Because I might bump it into that in the future pretty soon. So I just want to make sure, I want to look good. I just want to make sure how to manage that out.
If people don't, if they're brand, let's say you just meet somebody, I just want to clarify this. Let's say you just meet somebody and you talk about real estate. They don't need to know your record. They don't need to know you're new to real estate. That doesn't matter. Let's say there's somebody that's already in your database. And again, because I had such a big database, this is something that I had to deal with. And it's like, they know I was brand new. So don't hide the elephant in the room, leverage it. If it comes up, well, I happen to know that you're, that's really great. But I know you just got your license, and yeah, I have gotten my license. The cool thing is, because of that, I'm up to date on all the latest information in real estate, and you have my full focus and my full attention. And I don't mean to put down other people out there, because that's not what I'm about. But some people have been in the industry for a long time. They're not always keeping up with things, and they may be involved in multiple things at once, and they're sometimes hard to get a hold of. I guarantee you that won't be the case with me. I'm up to date on everything, and you'll get my full attention because I want to focus on you and make sure that my full focus is on you and meeting your needs.
Thank you.
Okay,
It's great. Great. Thank you.
great question. Yeah, that was something that I had to deal with when I first started. Okay, well, only 5 minutes over. Yay. So that's a record for me, I think. So thanks everybody for being here. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
being attentive. And again, all the Ignites, you could have somebody else teach the same Ignite from our office and you'll get different perspective. So that's why I think it's so valuable just to take the Ignites, because you'll learn from other people's experience, which is some of the most valuable stuff you can do. So go out and lead generate today, and I will see you guys later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.